So this is a PowerPoint and a presentation about School in the Woods. We are a fourth grade program. We are a choice program. So anybody in our school district can sign up for our school. Any third grader who expresses an interest can sign up. And we typically have more than spaces than we have available. So we have a lottery and we'll pull out 78 names and we'll take 39 boys and 39 girls. And pretty much any student in District 20 can be selected unless there are some stipulations in terms of like a security thing. If a child has had security threats, like a running away or certain things like that, they don't allow them to come out. If there's over 110 minutes, I think, of special education services that are required, that's not allowed. And that's not a decision by School in the Woods. That's a decision because of the special ed person the people that can come over from another school. That's pretty much all they would be able to commit their time for. So every year we have plenty of naturalists, typically between about 150 and a little over 200 that apply and come to School in the Woods. And we like to say that students at School in the Woods, and we call them naturalists, learn in, about, and from the natural world. We are fortunate to have access to approximately 640 acres of ponderosa pine ecosystem. And we have 10 acres. The district owns 10 acres within that. So we have a lot of land to explore and learn in, about, and from. I'm going to just move. I have to move some of these things I can't see. Okay. So I thought this might be a video here. I'm going to click through and make sure that I'm not missing a video. It's kind of hard for me to know how to do the PowerPoint at the same time as because I have the Zoom windows open on top of the PowerPoint. But now I see what's happening. So these are the main kind of components of School in the Woods. I just briefly talked a little bit about them. There's a nature integration. We like to connect as many aspects about the curriculum with our natural science investigations. We are now more than ever community oriented. We've always been, but we're definitely more intentional about the development of our community. With our fourth grade naturalists who are between 9 and 10 years old, we spend a lot of time working on developing responsibility and empowering them because we know that at this point in a child's life, 9 years old, 10 years old, that sense of id, of who I am and how I'm perceived by the world hasn't really been developed. And so we have a wonderful opportunity kind of as an intervention to help them develop, as I say, kind of into the best human beings that we can create out here, and establishing that responsibility and empowering them to have a voice is something that is really important for us. And we feel like it carries on through later on in their lives. We try to be very sustainable, not only with our resources, but with our programming and the difference that we make. Everything that we do, we want it to be an investment and to make a difference long term. So even if it's the sustainability of experiences that the naturalists have. Outreach, we certainly do a lot of outreach. I mean, I'm doing outreach right now with you all, and that makes a difference because when good things are happening, we need to share them. And if other people can learn from us and we can learn from them, it's all the more better. And with lifelong connections, not only with our School in the Woods naturalists, but with people like you here that I'm now getting to know and would like to stay connected with. Okay, so I think we're probably of all of the same mind in terms of the understanding of our need for nature. I think every one of us. knows that when we go out in the natural world, many of our problems don't seem so enormous anymore. That sense of peacefulness and relaxation typically comes from the outdoors. There's a few different books. Obviously, E.O. Wilson, who passed away, I think it was 2 years ago, knew that. And when he kind of established that term biophilia or defined what that means, Richard Louv, Last Child in the Woods, that was really groundbreaking. And I think that little subtitle, Saving Children from Nature Deficit Disorder, something that he wasn't really necessarily wanting to have as a subtitle, but his publisher put that said it was good. I think a lot of people latched onto that, especially having had experiences with children who have attention deficit disorder or ADHD, hyperactivity disorder. That term disorder is probably not really a good word to put with those, the way these people are, but that's the way it is. And so we've obviously, we're understanding more. And I think even now with COVID, we have seen the difference that it makes for people to be able to get outside, even if it's just for lunch or going for a walk. I have a video tour of School in the Woods. We put this together for COVID. We couldn't have people coming into the school, so I have a couple naturalists. I can share this video, and I think you might find this to be interesting. You can see the quote on the bottom. I find myself saying this more and more often to people when they ask about School in the Woods, because I will say it's a natural science school, but more importantly for me, and I think our team here, is we want to make the best humans beings that we can make while we have them for a year, and hopefully continue to make a difference even after they leave School in the Woods.
Hi, my name is Seth Olson.
Can you hear that?
My favorite part of School in the Woods is that we have the ability to be outside and just be in the woods. Hi, my name is Emery. So what I like about School in the Woods is that everything is nature out here, and I love that because it's COVID and yeah. So when you go into School in the Woods, nobody creates its powers.
Awesome.
So this is the office, and so if you're feeling ill at any time, or you just ask your teacher to come down here into the infirmary, and you can lay down and just powers to take a test or just whatever you need. So it's their library. So we have lots of books about nature and each student gets their own cubby for backpacks and coats. And on Saturdays we have slippers. So on Saturdays, if you have like wet shoes, you can just go into your slippers and you're comfortable. And this is just to put backpack, like I said. And so all of our classrooms look alike, and right now we're doing penny baskets. Classrooms out here. So this is one of our two outdoor classrooms. And I like this outside well, the outdoor classes because we could do like classes out here, just to get like fresh air or whatever. And that's a really special treat to do it. Hi, this is Wiki Town. So what we do out in Wiki Town, it's kind of like a neighborhood. It is a neighborhood, and so there's different types of wiki ups out here, as we call them. They're like mini teepees, and we entirely make them out of sticks. And so we have a business out here for like bones and like you can make ink out of charcoal and so there's money in Wiki Town. So and we have corn cobs for money, and so we pay for stuff like bones and like ink and signs. Hi, so I'm going to describe Olivia. You're gonna gather a team. It doesn't matter how much people there are. So like my wiki up is 4 people. Like a big TP, a small TP, it doesn't even matter at all. So these are for little boxes. So we don't do the lunch boxes, basics. And if each table is 6 feet apart, and then you can take your mask off.
So as you can see, yeah, that was during kind of during COVID, and those things for the lunch boxes were to because you couldn't touch other people's things. That's how we were living our lives. It's dramatically different now. I think I have two naturalists wearing masks. I have not had COVID yet. We had kind of pretty strict expectations. We couldn't require it, but we just tried to model it during the bigger part of COVID. So anyway, so that was that little video. I can take any questions. There's more of a PowerPoint, but don't want to power through if you have questions.
I have a question why you chose fourth grade. I mean, why not third, fourth, and fifth? Or why is it so focused just on fourth?
Carol Stansfield, who's the other co-founder of School in the Woods. We were both at an elementary school, High Plains Elementary School. We were teaching science, and we both taught kindergarten through fifth grade. She taught half the school, I taught half the school. And when this opportunity came up for teachers to propose alternative type programs, schools within schools or schools of choice, we immediately jumped at the opportunity and put in a proposal, and we thought about which age level would be most appropriate. We felt like third graders coming in as, just out of second grade wouldn't have as much responsibility as they may need to do things like solo spots and have the stamina to do some of our outdoor activities. We also at the time felt like this School in the Woods experience, leaving School in the Woods after a whole year and going back to kind of what I've called the industrial school setting would be kind of a little bit of a shock. And for some of them it is. So we thought they should go back and be able to reacquaint themselves with the fifth graders. And then they could transition to middle school with the fifth graders. And I know, about that whole sense of it and how they develop that, their perception of the way they want to see themselves or the way they feel the world sees themselves. And that starts to become pretty ingrained by the time they get into fifth grade and into 10 and 11 years old, and they begin to have these preconceived notions of themselves, like I'm not good at math or I'm shy, and then their behaviors begin to reinforce that. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So There's a number of reasons, but really fourth grade, 9 and 10-year-olds, it's a very important stage of our lives. And we're very much still an open book. And so our lives can be kind of directed, and if there can be experience that we have during that time that really will begin to help us define who we are. So that's why we choose fourth grade.
Mhm.
There is so in this thing, I have several videos. There's a news video. This news video is like 2 minutes long. There's a couple more videos of like WikiTown that are 45 seconds long. And I don't know how much of that you want to see.
Yeah,
Is the
I'd
news
love to see.
video? Yeah, is the news video made by the students?
No, the news video is actually made by news organizations. We have been in the news many times over the course of the last 23 years, and it's just it's a video that was done a couple years ago, kind of more toward the tail end of the big COVID wave. And then I have some videos that I took, but some of these videos are on our website. I've noticed that some of the links are actually dead now. So I don't know where those videos may have gone, some of the news videos, but it's news likes things that are different, unique. And so School in the Woods being like this, it's kind of a draw for kind of human interest stories. I can show you. I'll just kind of keep going through some of these other things. I've really talked about kind of that nature integration. Here's just some examples of solo spots that they go out to in the woods. I have a video of that. Reading time, spending time outdoors reading. And we say just, getting into nature, even if it's just for a break, just going out and having a snack out in the woods. That's good. And then in the spring, we do these spring field projects. There's just some more examples of reading and writing and how we try to connect what we're learning. Not everything's really connected with the natural sciences, but there's a lot of opportunities to do that. Let me just turn the light on again. Okay. As I mentioned, even now we're even more intentional about being community centered. We used to allow football out here at recess time, and I'd always have 15 to 20, usually boys, who that's what they would do every time. And I realized that was the time when the most negative feelings would come up: jealousy, unfairness, frustration. And about 5 years ago, we just decided not to have football allowed at recess or soccer. And so we really try to reduce any competition out here. We tell the parents there's plenty of competition in our world. And many of the students, even when they're at School in the Woods, are still in competitive soccer or competitive sports or other things. And we want our school to be a place where it's not about being better than another person, but helping everyone be as good a person as they can be, and to build one another up and support one another. And we have jobs that the students do. There's 3 students in each job, and they need to learn how to get along and cooperate, because they're going to be with those same 3 students together for the whole year. We have color groups. I can show you here. If you look in the background, you can see the stairs have color tape on them. And that's where the naturalists sit during morning and afternoon meeting. It's very intentional. When we went from 52 students to 78 students, I definitely felt like we might lose our little sense of community and, have more of a big city feel. And so I came up with this idea of just dividing the 78 students into 9 different colors. And so when they're in the meeting room each week, on Monday, they learn what color group they're in. We have a big screen we can show them. So they learn what color group they're in. They have to sit in their color group in the meeting room with those 8 other students. They have to eat lunch outside at the picnic tables. with their color group. So there's a lot of really intentional regrouping of students. They're in different groups for reading, different groups for math, home human. And we find that getting students together like that, then they get to know one another and establish relationships, because we all know that it's much more comfortable to go with the people that we know, sit with the people that we know, walk with it. So this grouping that we do, we find really supports the development of relationships. We have the positive behavior support. We have these little tracks. They're like little dollars, and the students get a payday. So they have a payday. So just by being here, they get paid. Also, if someone does something that stands out, all of a sudden they offer to do something. Sometimes they get paid for that, and then they can spend their tracks on experiences. We have a Wild Friday, and we'll have different experiences. Could be art things or outdoor. I usually take students for a hike, animal science hike, and then they pay tracks. So the tracks then get spent on those experiences. And we try to make sure that there's equity in the tracks. It doesn't always work that way, but we don't want anyone to be excluded just because they don't have as many tracks as they might need or as other people might have. As I said, one of the things, responsibility and empowerment, they get a lot of responsibility. I typically tell them, we're going to give you a lot of freedom and responsibility out here, and you can have it. But if for some reason you're not showing that you can handle that freedom or responsibility, you might lose that for a period of time. But if you can handle it, we're going to give it to you. And I think it's amazing what 9 and 10-year-olds can do when people trust them and empower them. So some examples of empowering them, we've had our own school newspapers going on. We have suggestion boxes, places so they can do suggestions or concerns. Sometimes we have WikiTown meetings. Even last week, I had to bring them all together. We had to talk about some stealing that was going on, or people not necessarily letting someone be in their wiki up. So we talk through issues like this. It's just like any other society. You're going to have conflict, and which requires problem solving and give and take. So that's something that we really focus on with that empowerment. So this is WikiTown. This is just a little video. You did see one before, but I can show this video. They're building wiki-ups out here, using the resources that we have, deadfall. WikiTown area is probably about 10 acres. It goes from our school land onto the land that we're leasing. Some naturalists are with 2 or 3 people. Some have 8 or 9 people. So you can see that I have one more. I have one more. Sorry, hold on a minute. I have one more video here of some wiki up building.
What do you think about School in the Woods?
It's the best school ever.
Why do you think School in the Woods is like that?
Because all the teachers are so nice, and because we get to be because we get to be outdoors a lot, and it's just really wildlife. You get to find bones, and then there, instead of like a playground, then there's this WikiTown. And it's just really fun that you get to be outdoors and do some stuff that you won't be able to do in another school. I love School in the Woods.
So I can just kind of pause for a minute if you have any questions about like that wiki. Hold on a minute. Okay, let me just move it. Okay, so if you have any questions about like WikiTown or.
Yeah, I do. Is it something that, so each year with WikiTown, how do you present that to the students when they get there? Like, how do you set that foundation? for them in terms of what choices are they given in setting up WikiTown, or is there flexibility around that, or is there more of kind of like a structure to how WikiTown runs each year?
Given that I have ADHD, structure is sometimes hard for me to establish out here. I really, the naturalists, many of them come in January for the choice presentation. We have a presentation, and then we have our school open, and they could walk through with their the third graders can walk through with their family here, and they go out to WikiTown. So that's their first opportunity to see all these structures that are already built, decorated. People have all, different things, sometimes signs. So they already kind of have this notion in their mind of what a wiki up might look like or could look like. So as a third grader coming here, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to build a wiki up. And then our fourth graders, our naturalists, at the end of the year in May, a couple of weeks before the end of the year, we need to, like maybe a week before the end of the year, we have them take down their wiki ups. It's a very kind of unsettling time for many of them, but they understand that that's how it was when they came. And so we take everything down, we pick up whatever trash, litter, things, and then we disperse all the wood. And because there's always thinning that needs to be done, I can continually add to the wood debris that's out there for them to use. And then we tell them about building WikiTown. The parameters that I usually talk about are that, you should work together if you like to, and if you have a group, you can't ever not include somebody. As long as people are willing to contribute to the wiki up, you can't tell them they can't be part of that. So really it's open. We have to share resources. The first day I tell them to make like little structures, and they're just kind of practicing. And then, but immediately they're already wanting to start, and then they just start. And when they talk about money and that sense, that bartering, that kind of is because there's some history with corn cobs. We feed the birds out here. We also feed like stellar jays. We have corn cobs, and they eat the corn. And then there's the empty corn cobs. So those kind of over the years actually became monetary, valuable, and then bones. And so there, it's interesting because it's just like a little society, and the positive things in a society are out there, and some of the negative things in society. In fact, just it's only been 2 weeks, and I hear someone say, "You stay here and guard our stuff," and I said, why do we need guards out here? I said, I want to live in a world where we don't have locks. We don't have guards. But, so fortunately, we don't have as many of those issues here as you might have in other places, just because I think students practice empathy or feel kind of like the need to be empathetic out here, because that's what we encourage. So really, Camden, I think it's what they make of it. And, we don't allow them to climb, like they're not supposed to like climb up the trees. But they make like tools, and because there's been burnt wood, some of them start making ink, pounding charcoal with water, and then they paint, and then they have little shops. And come December, January, February, when it gets a little cold, sometimes I think they wonder what they're supposed to be doing. Fortunately, we might be looking for animal tracks, and but they just wander around, and then they kind of work on their wiki ups and want to put pine needles on them so they could be like Sam Gribley in My Side of the Mountain and be living in a little wiki up shelter. So as I mentioned, sustainability and culture is so important. And I say these things, and a lot of it is me, my own personal beliefs, but I try to make that contagious, here. Fortunately, the staff that we have here seems very much of the same thinking in many ways about environmental education and the way we treat one another. So We all can reinforce that, but we spend quite a bit of time talking about your sense of self. We read a lot of picture books. We start with ourselves, how we need to respect ourselves and value the different types of people that we are. And then we start working from there throughout the year to the larger community, taking care of one another. And we do the discussions like that during morning meeting. And then throughout the day and the mood meter, we do quite a bit of social emotional learning as more and more schools are doing it. We involve parents. We have like, I think now I have like 75 parents signed up and we only have 78 students. So they love coming and helping. And part of it is that it's a special year and they want to be a part of that. Part of it is our requesting of them to come in. Another part of it is our appreciation of them and just how we establish relationships with our parents and let them know how much we care about them. And I think that's not always the way they are treated at schools. Sometimes they're just little workers that cut things, put things up, and here they're really appreciated, even if they are cutting and doing things like that. I kind of like that quote there, the world is hugged by faithful arms of volunteers. And I think if you guys have your school and stuff, you build it and these volunteers will come, I think, and just be wanting to be part of something special like that. Here's an example. We also have experts. So we have volunteers. These are high school helpers. I have high schoolers who come back. Oftentimes they're School in the Woods alumni and they need community service hours. So they come in. We have experts in the community that come in and help and provide, service, like the quote says, service to others. And there's a lot of good feeling that comes from helping one another. So we have parent volunteers helping. Here we have a terrestrial invertebrate expert. Here we have an alumni on the bottom who's teaching the students about birds. He became a bird expert and won a national Audubon or Peterson. I forgot the exact one, but he won a national birding award. And he wanted to come back and give to the students. So those naturalists sometimes come back like that. Saying thank you is really important for us. We'll oftentimes get like a picture of the expert and put it on one of our cards. That card there on the left is kind of our standard cover card. We just put it in there. And then we'll have naturalists write notes and thanking them. There's a thank you card from to a woman who came and taught us about ponderosa pines and healthy forests. So that's really important to us. Outreach kind of goes along with the volunteers and the experts, where we go to community events and share School in the Woods things. We'll bring things to the event. The kids will present, show kind of some of the experiences that they have, and maybe bring terrestrial invertebrates or aquatic organisms so that people who come to this event, like an Earth Day event, can be educated about that. They love to do that. And then when they go on to their next school, we encourage them to make a difference and to be an advocate and to, try to make a difference at their own school. And their parents often will do that and go in there and try to make a difference at their school too. So I like the quote by Margaret Mead about, just a small group of people can make a huge difference. And we all know that sometimes it only takes one person and can make a big difference. So we share our news. There was a weather person who came. Here's a little.
Earlier today, I was out at School
video.
in the Woods. It's a very unique school in D20. You can only go there for 1 year. 78 fourth graders get to go talk to them about weather. And if you're not certain what School in the Woods is, or if you've never heard about it, here you go.
School in the Woods is a school of choice for fourth graders. And the students who attend School in the Woods become deeply passionate about learning, not only about the natural world, but also the community.
And you can see the concept is they bring the outside inside with a lot of field projects, learning about how weather affects the atmosphere, literally the classroom, both inside and outside there, sort of how nature and everything works together, how we grow our food, and about sustainability and that sort of thing. A really, really unique program. It's been going on out there for about 13 years now, and I was very, very proud to be out there earlier today.
Field projects every.
So that was when we had the old trailers. You could see all the naturalists sitting on the floor. So 13 years. So that was like 10 years ago. And then we had we had one about COVID. And then we do things like this. Those are School in the Woods Earth Day. We got Earth Day shirts. We really do want to be connected with our naturalists forever. Our saying is once a naturalist, always a naturalist. And so we have reunions every year where everybody who's ever been to School in the Woods is invited. We had between 400 and 500 people come this last May back. My oldest naturalists are actually like 33 now in age. And I will say that every first child naturalist who comes to School in the Woods is impacted some much. It might be a little bit. It might be a tremendous amount. And the same goes with their families. It can be life-changing, just based upon the encouragement, things that happen here, their motivations. So we also have Instagram, 78 Naturalists. If any one of your viewers wants to sign up for Instagram, 78 Naturalists, and follow us. A lot of heartwarming pictures come up through the year. And it's a moment of joy in your day if you like to do Instagram, and then we also do Facebook. One of my role models is Rachel Carson. As she says here, the child's world is fresh and new and beautiful and excitement. But what happens is later on in life, it might become foggy and dimmed. And that has to do with if we stop going out in the natural world and stop having experiences like that, we disassociate ourselves with the natural world. And so it's important that we, keep our connection with the natural world. And then, oops, sorry, let me just go back here. I don't exactly know what happened. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. There's another quote from her. If your child wants to keep alive that inborn sense of wonder, he or she needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share it, rediscovering with him or her the joy and excitement and mystery of the world we live in. And as you can see, Rachel Carson felt like that was important. It's nice to let children go out in the natural world, but to have an interested adult going with them and sharing in that experience makes all the difference and increases their sense of value to their experiences that they have, and also can stimulate that sense of wonder that is really innate in all of us. And we start every day off when the naturalists come to School in the Woods, either on the bus with a mindfulness walk. So here's a short video of a mindfulness walk. 78 naturalists, they follow. Typically, I'm in the front, and we just go about a third of a mile or so, 10 minutes. And we walk in different directions through the woods, and they just need to walk single file. No one's talking. Just a chance for them to be in their own headspace, thinking about whatever they want to think about. I have one more video. Oh, sorry. Let me just go to the next one. Here's one more video. This is out in the burn area. So sometimes I take them out there. We may see deer when we're out there. Sometimes we see turkey in different times of the year. We see different animals. But for the most part, it's just a chance for them to kind of calm themselves down after maybe a busy bus ride or a carpool. And it also provides them an opportunity to see the natural world that we have here around School in the Woods every day of the year in all sorts of weather. And we do that 4 days a week. And then Friday, we have a little bit of a different schedule, so we don't do the mindfulness walk. So as Rachel said, those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find resources and strength that should last, hopefully will last their entire life. And that's pretty much my presentation that I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Jonathan, I think I mentioned this to you in the email, but I was on a Zoom call a week or two ago. And in this call, she was speaking about, this movement away from the industrialized model into one that's more human centered. And we had a little breakout session in it. And I was in a room with someone who was working for the school district up in, anyway, who was very involved with the school board and, managing parents and administration. And after hearing this talk, his comment was, I just don't know how these things are going to be possible. These types of changes and the way that these models are happening. I felt this sense of like lack of hope. And even though it was like, yeah, some of this makes sense, it felt like from someone who maybe had the possibility of creating some of that change, it felt really hopeless. And so I briefly mentioned about School in the Woods and how impressive I think it is that within a public school in a district setting, you were able to create what you created and not only have a program like you've said that's based in the natural sciences, but taken this approach that's a human-centric approach and included values and working towards creating incredible human beings in this really important developmental part of their life, which is going to stay with them for a very long time. And so I guess maybe if you could also just mention a little bit about how this all started. I mean, those trailers in the background, I mean, now you have this incredible building, but I know it didn't start like that. And maybe just a little piece of hope for those who might be hopeless in some of these situations.
Well, it's hard to live without hope. I just read Jane's, or listened to Jane Goodall's book about hope. And so her big point, it's like people say, well, how can you have hope with everything that's happening, Jane? And her answer to that is because she's making a difference. You can't just have hope and not do anything, but if you have hope and you're actively trying to make a difference to help to create the world that we need, or to reduce the damage that we're doing to either our world or our society and our relationships and cultures, if we work toward that, we can be hopeful, and even making little bits of progress make a difference. When our superintendent at the time in Colorado, we had this large outcry for vouchers. This was happening really throughout the nation. This was in the mid 90s, and people wanted to get their money and get out of the public school system and use their funding for their private schools. Most of them were going to be private religious schools. He felt like if we could provide meaningful choices, and that if people had a choice, or at least there was a perceived sense of choice with public education, that schools might be a little different, some schools, that we might dampen that cry for vouchers. And so he asked a group of us leaders from the schools, just teachers who had signed up to be kind of a leader for their school and meet once a month with the district leadership and the superintendent, and then bring information back to the school. And when I was at the meeting, he said, you guys are the teachers. Come up with ideas, schools within schools, different types of schools. Well, immediately I went back the next day and approached my partner, Carol, and was all excited and said, wouldn't it be neat if we could, and I think that's important. This if we could open that door. And I said, even a school within a school, because my thinking at the time was I was going in and teaching science for an hour. And as soon as the teacher came in, they put the science stuff away, open up your writing books or open up your reading books. And I always felt there was this big disconnect, because we really should be integrating the science with reading and writing. And I was mostly doing activities and didn't have the time to be very reflective with the students. So I always felt like our subject matter was very disjointed in schools, whether it's elementary schools or high schools. It's not the way our brains learn. We don't learn disjoint and segments like that. We overlap everything. So that's when Carol said she had been at a meeting just right before, just like me, I'd been at a meeting, she'd been at a meeting about this land. And we had the ability to lease 640 acres for a very small amount of money. But there was no way to get in here. You would have to park a bus and then go through a fence. And so she said, what if we could do it out there? What if we could have a school out in the woods? And we immediately came up with a little idea, thought about things that we could do. And many of them we're doing right now still after all these years. And we put the proposal out there. So there was this opportunity. We seized the opportunity. We were persistent, and we were one of the first people, and it was hard for them to say no, because you invited us to come up with ideas and now we have them. And so I think they thought it was intriguing, and also they felt like they needed to kind of follow through because they are the ones who said that. So it really started small. They had a piece of land in the back for us that they sold, and we bought 10 acres within the 640 acres. And they brought 2 little trailers out here. And I think maybe initially it was like, well, let's see what would happen. We'll just see, if it doesn't work out, we'll just yank the trailers out and we'll have that land, and, it's no loss really. Well, that first year, which is 2 teachers and a secretary, and I had a part-time math teacher. We've opened our doors to 52 naturalists, 52 parents who had signed up without even a school being present, listening to a presentation in a building far away from here. 2 teachers, no administrators, telling what their dream was for this school and what it would be like. And it wasn't here. And they had to sign a contract. They had to sign that their kid would come even before there was anything out here, any trailers, anything. And so I guess salesmanship is important. So the 2 of you think about your sales pitch when you when you start putting this out there, made a big difference. And that was the beginning. And then I kept asking, persistent, I need more staff. It's almost impossible for us to do these things. And later, after, 8 years, they decided, yeah, let's give more staff. But at the same time, we're going to increase the number of students that you have. And we're going to make it 78, another 26. And so that's when we grew. And then the district wanted, and then I had the superintendent's kids, several superintendents later. I had all 5 of his kids, and he loved School in the Woods, loved what his kids were getting. And when it came time to put a bond issue out there for money for more schools and improvements to schools, he made sure to put a permanent building for School in the Woods in the bond question. And so thank goodness for that, because now we have a $4 million custom made building for School in the Woods, and its permanence is here now, more so than ever. And the building reflects our programming. It reflects, how we want to move around and be able to learn in these spaces, and also outside of this building as well. So it's been 23 years, and our staff now, I have 9 staff members. I mean, I feel like I'm flush. I'm a building manager. I got a principal secretary. I'll tell you this, and I'll tell everybody, even the naturalists, it's like, you need to be persistent, and you need to not necessarily take no for an answer. You need to question, like, why no? What about this? And you need to advocate. Things sometimes can drop in your lap, but we have a lot of control over what happens. And the success that we've had out here has been because of people being persistent and then showing the results of their efforts. And if you can do that, it's hard for people to deny when success is happening. Our district recently was going to adopt like DEI. We were doing strategic planning, diversity, equity, inclusion, and immediately, critical race theory, all that stuff became negative, So what we did was we decided to have an initiative sense of belonging. And that's what we have in our district now. And everything is underneath sense of belonging. You can't have a sense of belonging if you don't support diversity. You can't have a sense of belonging if people don't feel like they're being treated equity, students or staff members and pay. And so to me, this is really a strategy to use with any school anywhere, is that we create a sense of belonging, because nobody can argue against wanting people to feel like they belong. And then how do you do that? So what has to be in place for people to feel like they belong? Do they need to see books with the skin color they have? Do they need to have teachers who look like them? So I'm proud of our district. And even though we have 3 conservative board members out of 5, so that shows you we're winning these conservative board members because they just can't argue against something like a sense of belonging. So with that, that's kind of how the whole process happened. And we just, we now have a reputation, and unfortunately, there should be more opportunities for outdoor learning. Doesn't have to be at school in the woods. Just take your kids outside once in a while instead of recess to read, to sit underneath a tree and to doodle and to draw. But school systems are extremely slow to change. We all know what it was like. We sat in desks in a room. Why wouldn't you teach with desks in a room? We put kids' names on the board when they got in trouble because that's happened to us. Why? So we have an authoritarian structure in schools: principal, assistant principal, teachers, classified, paras. Respect dribbles down because that's how it's always been. How would you do it differently? So, Robin, change the system, shake it up a bit. Tell them it doesn't have to be the way it was when you went to school. It can be different. The world has changed since that time. We know things we didn't know then.
Wonderful. Yeah. I would like to invite you too, if you ever want to come. We have a biannual big conference for holistic educators, which are a lot of educators who do schools in nature too. We have a beautiful one here in Ashland called the John Muir School, which I still have to visit. I've only been here a year and I haven't gotten there yet. But
So your university, you're saying, it does that?
Our university sponsors it, but it's in collaboration with lots of educators around the world, actually. So
I think I'd like to do that. I'd like to come and be a part of that and hear what other people are doing.
yeah, it's pretty fascinating. But it's great to hear what you had to say today, because you're doing it in a public school system, and I think that's where we need to be doing it more. Tomorrow I'm participating in another little podcast interview thing with someone from the community schools in California, and I guess that's another kind of movement that the National Education Association, NEA, has been spearheading in the last decade or so, of really getting a community school model, which used to be really well known in the 70s, but then it kind of fell off, but now there's funding for it again through the NEA. And those are public schools too. So, but I'm not sure what all is really happening with those. So, but the models that always interest me the most are these little independent models where you have strong leadership that you just kind of went into it and did it. And it's remarkable. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're very welcome, Robin.
Yes, thank you, John, for sharing and for just doing what you do, and for persevering, being persistent, and wow. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't know. I like to say that I don't know a lot about some things. I just kind of know about a lot of things, a little bit about a lot of things. And I feel like I've learned quite a bit though about outdoor education and experiences. And I don't know if you guys, as you go through this, you have any kind of logistical questions and stuff like, well, how did you handle that? And, how did you handle it, for this, if you had allergies or fruit, if you have any questions, I would be happy to to help you to whatever, whatever it's worth. I'd be happy to share anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
So, okay, I guess I'll try to join. I'll try to join these, it's not Saturday. That's actually a pretty good time, 5:30 on a Saturday night. And it's not like they're every single weekend, but it's nice that you're doing that. I thank you for continuing with your vision of learning stories and sharing stories and your experiences with others and being that conduit. I know that you would like to have 150 people in this room right now, but we'll keep working on that.
Persevere, right?
Yes.
Persevere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some incredible people doing really incredible things in the world, and just it's so refreshing and inspiring for us even just to have these conversations, and they're so deeply appreciated. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. We're gonna keep doing it for as long as Robin keeps showing up.
Yes.
Well, I think at some point Robin can teach you a little bit about her Zoom meeting techniques. So if anything ever happens to Robin or
I'm sure Camden could do it if he.
We
But,
need you,
we
Robin.
need you, Robin. We're being-
I just like showing up, not the tech part. That's easy, but the conversations are so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
hearing
Robin, I may take you up on that. I don't know. I'm going to be retiring either 1 year or 2 years. I'm kind of with my secretary. It's which one of us is retires, the other stays a year. I have a staff member who's got his administration degree, and for the sustainability of the program, the time is getting to be about right. I will volunteer. They'll be out there. Who's that old man out there? Oh, that's Mr. Wuerth. He's out there working. I mean, this is my life. It's not a job. I'm so glad that I have work that I get paid for, that I don't see as a job. I see as my life's calling in a way. It's something that works well with me.
Well, keep it up for as long as you can, but even after you retire, it sounds like you're going to be in it still.
Yeah, I'll be driving up to Ashland to see you, Robin.
Do that. We have a great team, and the students here too. We have a few teachers that are incredibly remarkable, and they bring the students into an understanding of a holistic education. But the students are all going on to work in public schools too, and so there's always that tension of how do you do this in a public school, because nobody really has the answers, but you have a model. But there's a lot of different ways, and but there's a lot of challenges, and nobody disregards the challenges too. So
Yeah, but keep working your way around, keep working on those avenues, and keep asking and keep proposing, and even a little bit of a difference, a little bit of a change at a time. So, well, thank you all. Once again, I'm honored to be able to be a part of this conversation and to share School in the Woods with you, and to be with good people tonight.
Same.